Yinzers, my name is Abraham Klein, and this is Yinzer Club. All right, well, hello again. As I said in the introduction, this is Abraham Klein, and I'm joined today by a, I don't know if you'd call him a familiar guest to me. He's my brother, and he's going to be on here today just sort of for this, I guess you'd call it special, unique episode. A lot has changed in my life over the past couple of weeks, and I just felt the need to sort of talk about it. And obviously, if you're not into that, that's fine. But for those who aren't aware, I'd been on kidney dialysis for the past 6 years, and almost 6 years. And as of June 7th, I now have another kidney. I had got a kidney transplant. And so today I wanted to just sort of take the time to talk to the audience about that, about what has happened in my life. I don't want to just make it about me. I want to try to, if nothing else, be a bit of an encouragement. And I have brought my brother along to sort of be his perspective of what it's like for the family members that have had to deal with, I guess you could say, family that have had a lot of health issues. But first I want to introduce him. His name is Nathaniel Sarah. My name is Abraham Klein. He's Nathaniel Sarah. We have different dads, but of course we're still brothers. Amen?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
You're gonna be best man at my wedding.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Yeah, he's. But no, that's all right. But yeah, Nathaniel Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 42. I'm engaged to Kimberly Pytek, and I'll be getting married November 7th, 2020.
Yeah. So and
he's my best man.
And apparently I'm his best man. And but he's had an interesting life, I would say, as being a brother of someone who's had to deal with health issues your whole life.
Yes.
And
when you were born, 1991, March 10th, 1991, you were born. You were had 2 operations, and you were in the hospital for like 30 days.
Yeah. So I can imagine, at that point you'd have been about 13 years old.
Yeah.
I'm sure that had to have been an interesting. I guess I never really sat down to talk to you about this before.
No.
I can imagine it would have been
very traumatic,
interesting experience.
I more or less stayed with Grandma because Dad and Mom were in Pittsburgh a lot. So. Yeah.
So, but and as you could tell, our ages are a little different. He was born in '77. I was born in '91.
A little time gap there.
A little bit of a time gap. And so, after my mother buried our dad, I came into the picture, and we had a nice little happy family, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so, growing up as sort of having almost different childhoods, it was a unique experience.
It was a unique experience. We grew up in the church.
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah.
Altman
we both graduated from
Altman Baptist Church.
Altman Baptist Church Academy.
95 and then 2010.
Yeah, I was 4 when he graduated.
Yeah.
And I graduated in 2010. But all that aside, as we were sort of alluding to in the beginning, I was born with a condition called cystic hygroma, and that was obviously a big scare at the beginning. They had to do a lot of extensive operations on me from a very early age.
I think the one under the arm was over 10 hours.
Okay. Yeah. But, so, at the beginning of my life was a lot of scare and
trauma.
A lot of trauma and things like that. What was it like for you, man? Like I said, I don't think we ever sat down and talked about this stuff before.
Not really, but, we always kept praying. It's just, you prayed and you wanted to see God's face over it, over your life. And Pastor even said, God has something special for his life.
Yeah. But, of course, we were already in a unique situation to begin with, because obviously our dad that we grew up with was not your biological dad.
No, but he was my stepfather, but I loved him anyway,
Yeah, so...
We really love each other.
So, yeah, but despite all those differences or uniquenesses, if you will, it's pretty... normal childhood, I guess you could say. There was a lot of going to the doctor. There was a lot of him trying to grow up and trying to establish his life. And meanwhile, he's got a little brother that's always sick. So it was
traumatizing, but we got through it with prayer.
Yeah. And so, but other than that, at the beginning, really the biggest issues I think we had until my adult life was I had a surgery on my arm when I was about 11, and then I had another surgery when I was about 13.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it for a while.
For a while until you got
until I got older. Yeah. But the thing for me was, like I said, because of our age gap, by the time I was getting to the age where I sort of had my whereabouts and ability to move about, we actually started going places. We went to a lot of Pirate games.
Oh, yeah. We even went to a Steeler game, I think it was last year.
Well, that would have been 2018, I believe we went to that. Yeah. So we went to
a Penguin game. My fiance gave us tickets for Christmas present. We went and seen Jake Getzel get the winning goal in overtime.
Yeah, so there was a lot of... we've shared a lot of fun adventures together. Kennywood. We went to Texas.
Yeah, we went to Texas.
The whole family went down there.
Yeah.
And so that was
I dunked
fun.
him in the pool.
He dunked me in the pool. He likes to remind me of that.
Yeah. Not really. I just put him in underwater a little bit. And,
and then I screamed and
cried. But he got to go into the Alamo where nobody was allowed to go.
Well, everybody was in the Alamo, but there was a certain part of it
that he got to go.
A lot of people don't get to go to, but we got to go in because we were special. Yeah. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun experiences growing up. It's interesting, and like I said, it's interesting growing up being in almost two different childhoods, and yet it was just the two of us. We didn't have any other brothers or sisters. No. It was just us, and so I would say we had unique childhoods together. So that was pretty much our lives growing up. He now works. Is it a hospital still?
No, I work at Excella Health Norwin, Norwin Square.
Norwin Square.
I do cleaning offices and different things like that now. But still in the Excella Health system. Yeah.
Well, I guess now that we have you here and we're talking about it, what's been it like for you having to work under these kind of conditions with everything going on with COVID?
I was the first housekeeper in Latrobe that had to go into a room that had to clean with the mask on and the ventilator on and stuff like that, and I cleaned the room and stuff, but she turned out negative. But I mean, to see that atmosphere and how hard them nurses worked, and I mean, it was just unreal. Yeah. We were more or less bystanders when they were the patients were positive. We would just go and grab the trash and take it out and stuff like that. But we were more or less garbage handlers because they didn't want us in the room to get the infection. But there was several nurses there that got the COVID-19.
So have you been tested for it yet?
No.
No. See, that's the thing I have up on him. But when I went in for my transplant, for my kidney transplant, they actually had to test me for it. And it was one of those things, because I'd seen videos of it, I'd seen pictures of it, and it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, actually. I mean, it was very uncomfortable.
Your nose up into your eye.
Yeah, it was a very weird feeling, but I expected it to be a lot worse, personally. But so that's just a little bit about where we came from. As I mentioned,
we grew up in Altman, Pennsylvania.
We grew up in Altman, but most of my life was in Clarksburg.
Yeah,
we've basically been in Indiana County our whole lives, though. He's moved away to a couple of different places a couple times, but he's always made his way back. Yeah. But what I want to talk about is that, I mean, growing up, I had the opportunity to tag along with you, I guess, a lot. Where you go to sporting events, you'd go to different events, and he'd take me along as his little brother. We
would even, Make-A-Wish Foundation had a game one time, and Mom and Dad and both of us went, he even got a baseball, right before the game. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And actually, my first sporting event in Pittsburgh would have been a baseball game. Yeah. Would have been the Pirates against the Marlins, if I remember right.
I remember the umpire got knocked out.
That wasn't that one, but that would have been 2000, I think it was. And they had to change something with the mask because the ball went up and hit him in the throat or whatever.
Knocked him out.
Knocked him up and knocked him out. Just whole game just sort of.
Yeah, a whole air went out of the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Greg Benoit, that's what his name.
Greg Benoit, for those, shout out to Greg Benoit. So yeah.
And also, I want to tell you about him. He also we were at the last night game at Three River Stadium history.
Yeah.
And he got to run the bases.
I got to run the bases. It was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I got up base and took a swing and ran around. It's amazing. I mean, maybe it was just my age. Yeah. That place just looked huge from standing down.
Can you picture hitting the baseball
on the field
up into them big stands?
Yeah, I could imagine that. But yeah, that was pretty cool stuff. And I mean, we did get a chance to, back when I was about to go into the hospital in 2014, we were going to go to that one home game, and I never got to go to that. But that was what it was. Yeah. But that just
about
sort
our Buccos in 2013, huh?
Yeah.
That wild card game. I know it's a while ago, but
yeah, it was a while ago. But hey, man, you always remember those good times.
Oh yeah.
You have to with the Pirates. But and so far they're undefeated in 2020. So
yeah, yay Buccos.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just a bit of an introduction about us. Our parents, Kenneth Klein, Deborah Klein, they I would say that they did their best to raise us.
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dad isn't here these days. He passed away back in 2017. And Mom, unfortunately, is in a healthcare facility right now. But
I've been seeing her home.
But can't say enough about them in our upbringing and stuff like that. They
a lot of sacrifices.
A lot of sacrifices. And I learned more stuff as I got older, and I'm actually very amazed at the stuff that they were able to go through and be able to handle it emotionally like they did. I remember 2014 because he was going in for a simple surgery, and he ended up in the hospital for over a little close to 6 months. He ended up in Allegheny General Hospital, got that mass removed from his. You're talking about me, right? Yeah.
He got the mass removed from the neck back here.
T1
and
to
yeah, and then he started going into renal failure. He started going to lung failure. And,
which is partly responsible for this episode, which is where we're getting to. Is probably what was, I would say, probably the darkest period in the past several years. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, we talked about the going into the hospital. Probably from like 2012 to 2014, I was basically battling, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And it's interesting because I have a photo, and I don't know if I'll get a chance to give it to Todd to be able to put up for this episode. But there's a picture that I have that I look back on every once in a while, and it was in July of 2012. We just come back from church camp. And no, it was from our camp out in where.
Continuing.
Yeah, and we had come back, and I remember feeling pretty much on top of the world at that point because so many great things were happening. I was 21 years old. A lot of great things were happening. I was getting opportunities to make more money. I was getting more opportunities to do other things, doing things that I liked. And I remember just feeling so happy. Yeah. And then that Tuesday, I went in for my annual physical for work because I was a school bus driver at the time. And
you talk about a little guy running a big bus.
Yeah, I was a little guy running a big bus. But I went in that Tuesday then. Things were just great. I remember saying, "How do you feel, your health-wise?" I said, "Excellent." And that day, they noticed blood in my urine. And that was the start.
Yeah.
Pretty much from then on, my life sort of took almost like a downward trajectory. I started seeing doctors about it. They said it wasn't much of a problem. Then there was my health insurance. I didn't have health insurance, even though we thought I did. And then eventually I started needing blood transfusions. Then doctors were telling me that my kidneys were failing, and then I started, they've noticed a mass on my spine, and it was causing all sorts of engineering failure, if you will, in my brain. So that was pretty rough there. A lot of emotional problems as well as physical.
Yeah, I remember 2014. I was down in church camp with you guys.
Yeah.
And I saw that you were like staggering.
Oh
like,
yeah. Well, yeah.
Doing like a little, you felt like you were off or something.
Yeah, I was definitely off. That's for sure.
And then, you went in for simple surgery. And
well, actually, it was probably a couple weeks before that. I was told by my boss at the time, which is the bus company, that I would have to quit working for a while, try to get things figured out. And so at that point, I didn't know what was going to happen, because I'd actually passed out in the parking garage. They sent me to the hospital a few times, got another blood transfusion. And then that night, when I went home, I couldn't even walk from the car. One of my coworkers, she helped basically carry me into the house. And I said, I might need another blood transfusion, so we went in, and that's when they discovered the mass, and they said, you need to get surgery. And the whole thought was, we'll get this surgery, and things will be fine. I'll be out in a few days, and things will be hunky-dory, and they were not. I think I remember we were watching the wild card game, I think.
Yeah, wild card game
and all of a sudden,
Giants.
And all of a sudden, yeah. And so the day wasn't going well as it was already. And all of a sudden, I just started having trouble breathing. And it was because my kidneys were failing. It was filling out my lungs. And so I'd gone from, in 2012, feeling the absolute top of the world. And now I was dying.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like...
And we started calling everybody.
And they were, yeah. I mean, of course, I didn't know about all this because I was in a coma. But yeah, it was crazy how life changes, and that's the thing about it, is that life can change out of nowhere. That's why every time, even when I look at the rough patches that I'm in right now, I try to appreciate the good times, because you don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know how long good times are going to last, because your life could be completely on top at some point, and then just like that, it's completely in shambles, And Nate's been there, with financially, he had some issues with jobs and stuff like that. We're not, talking about that, but you've had your share of troubles. All of us have troubles.
Yeah.
And I was just another person going through something in life. And for me, it just happened to be physical problems that, they were actually very close to pulling the plug on me and just ending it.
But we didn't know what to do, but then we put your body in God's hands.
Yeah, yeah, and that's when they started the dialysis. So.
And they also gave him a trach.
They gave me a trach, yeah. And so they put me on a trach, they put me on dialysis. And I thought that was rock bottom. Yeah, but for the next, it took me 6 months to get out of the hospital. About a week shy, actually.
You went to Life Care in by McKees Rocks.
Yeah. So we went through all of that, and that was, and I thought that was the worst possible thing. And now I never say never, now I just say that's the watermark at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember then the next few years were mostly a lot of trying to get over the emotional aspect, because